Hello. There are changes occurring in our economy that are and will continue to have an impact on the way we live our life. I am Dr. Nina Cunningham. I am not an economist, nor am I a financial advisor. I am an educator and researcher. My life expands 35 years in public and private education as a classroom teacher in the Gary Community School Corporation and adjunct instructor at Indiana University Northwest to education consultant for Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, then becoming Rush's director of the Department of Community Affairs, overseeing 5 educational outreach programs into the west side of Chicago. Today, I am founder and CEO of Millennium Education Consulting and doing what God has blessed me to love and to do, educate. I am still a licensed biology, chemistry, and general science teacher in Indiana until 2030. I do teach several courses, including financial literacy, through my online platforms. Do you know, or are you aware of the changes that are occurring in our economy? Do you understand what effects this new economy will have on you? Do you know what you can do to prepare for it? Today, that's what we're going to discuss. Now remember, this is not financial advice, even though you will see financial information. This is an informational meeting only. The changes to our economy are occurring in part due to the ushering in of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Some changes are due in part to the actions of leaders whom we have trusted for years, including the Fed, the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank. The changes that we're going to see are these 4 here, and these are the 4 we will cover. More automated or digital operations is what we'll see, and which is less human operations, means less human operations. More blockchain technology to replace fiat money with cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, so the CBDC, central bank digital currencies. More federal regulations to keep track of everything people do and earn. And then an increase in the supply chain bottlenecks, decreased jobs, and increased inflation. Let's take a look right now of listen, I should say, to the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell. This is a brief 3-minute video, so take a close listen.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy.
And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future.
But can you give us a little bit of a sense then, if you have been in this space for 8 years, where you think we genuinely are in the cycle? There have been, as you know, there have been great, what you might describe as Bitcoin summers or solstices or whatnot, and then there have been, long winters.
Sure. I think the familiarity and the protections of an ETF definitely stands to draw in more capital and more investors into this ecosystem. There has been a lot of excitement. Again, GBTC, a lot of other ways for investors to access this this industry and this asset class.
Right.
But as you have more of these familiar wrappers coming into the market, that will draw in more capital. And, obviously we think that that could be very bullish for the asset class, given that you're talking about a scarce asset, right?
Do you think there's any chance that we could see an ETF, an Ethereum ETF futures product?
I think that the regulatory community has become increasingly comfortable with the fact that digital asset futures are regulated by the CFTC.
But do you think there's a difference? How would you, if you were to sort of handicap how the SEC or others might think about an Ethereum futures product versus a Bitcoin futures product, how would you talk about or frame that conversation?
Well, regulators have been very proactive, working with industry participants like us. I think certainly they've taken their time and been very methodical about introducing now what will be the first Bitcoin futures product. And so I think it stands to reason that they will also be very proactive and thoughtful about bringing Ether or other products into the market as well.
And then finally, do you think this new ETF makes it harder for the Chinese crackdown to continue?
Well, I think what we've seen out of China, again, is really yet another round of a prohibitive stance against the asset class. Time and again, the resiliency of this community has moved mining hash power to other parts of the world, trading volumes to other parts of the world. And I think we're seeing yet another cycle of that, which we view as a good thing for the ecosystem, to smooth some of that out and not have it be so concentrated.
So as you heard in the early part of this video, our Fed chair said that change will come.
We're going to a different economy.
So who or what is the U.S. Federal Reserve, the Fed? Let's hear from expert and author of 1994 bestseller, The Creature from Jekyll Island, G. Edward Griffin, in his interview with Stansberry Research. This video is the last one you will see from me in this presentation.
Hi, this is Daniela Camboni, and welcome back to StansberryInvestor.com. We're talking the Federal Reserve today. Should it continue to exist or not? A controversial topic. The 1994 bestseller, The Creature from Jekyll Island. And today we have the author of this book that many would consider a financial Bible. So please welcome to the show, G. Edward Griffin. So nice to be with you. Welcome, Edward.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and a great introduction. I'm going to have to pin it on my bathroom mirror.
So for audience members who may be new to you, let's just talk a little bit about what the role you see, well, I guess the role you don't think the Fed should be playing in people's lives.
Well, okay, the role it should not be playing in people's lives is the role it is playing, of course. And what is that role? And it's hard to describe, because if you just say it bluntly, most people will look at you like you're some kind of a tinfoil hat person. But I'm used to that, so I don't mind that look, as long as I have a moment or two to explain. So what's the role it's playing? It's playing the role of our masters. And that's what do you mean? The Federal Reserve is our master? Who ever heard of such a thing? It's a government agency, isn't it? Well, no, it's not a government agency. So what is it? And this leads you down the rabbit hole. The Federal Reserve System is a cartel. It's no different than no different than an oil cartel or banana cartel. It's a banking cartel. And that's a kind of a shocker to most people, to realize that the system that's controlling our money, that issues our money in the name of the nation, is a private institution, completely a private institution. And if you understand the history, its origins going way back to 1910 through 1913, during the period when they were selling the concept to Congress and to the American people, during that time, these bankers got together and decided that they needed to intervene in Congress, because Congress was getting a lot of pressure from the people to produce a bill, a law, to control those big bad banks. They're ruining the economy. Their banks were folding. People were losing their investments. They had their money in the banks, and the banks would fold. They lost everything they had. And there was a hue and cry for banking reform bill. So the bankers decided wisely that, hey, if we're going to have a banking reform bill, what are we going to do? Just sit around and wait and see how it turns out? No. Let's have a meeting and let's figure out how we can write the banking reform bill to our best interests. And that's what they did. And that, of course, is the lead up to the name for my book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, because Jekyll Island is a real island. It's off the coast of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And back in those days, it was a resort, well, it still is a resort island, but in those days, it was an exclusive resort island owned by the very bankers we're talking about and some of their industrialist friends. It was a resort island, very elegant, still there, of course. Anyway, so they went to this island where they were away from the prying eyes of the world, and they crafted up their cartel agreement. And they took it back to Washington, D.C., and if you can imagine taking a big fat eraser and erasing the words from the top of the paper that says cartel agreement, and then they carefully write in Federal Reserve Act. And then they took it to Congress, and they cajoled those idiot guys there that were there in Congress. And they passed the cartel agreement into law, and so now we have to abide by it because it's law. And if we don't, we go to prison, which is why people think it's a government agency, because only government can put you in prison, right? Well, no, not right. Not if you're very wealthy and very clever. You can buy governments. So now we get back to the answer to your question. What is it today? It controls the money system. It controls who gets money, what the interest rates are. All the important elements of commerce are controlled by this private group in the name of the government. And it's become so powerful over the years that the role has completely reversed. It was created by the government. It was, in other words, a contract issued by the federal government, just like the states issue contracts or legalize corporations and so forth at the state level. This is like a national corporation that was created by the national government. And so the government created it, but now over the years, the role of master and servant has been reversed. And now we come to the amazing and horrible conclusion that the government doesn't control the banks control the government. So now we answer the question, what do we have here that it shouldn't be? And that is it. It is our master. And most people don't know it.
Which brings us to today. What a lengthy narrative is happening in the Fed landscape these days. Curious to get your thoughts on inflation, on the state of economy. Where are we at?
Another really deep question. Where are we now? Well, we're poised on the precipice of a major transition of proportions equal to the transition from a normal government to a controlled government, such as what happened back in 1910. That was a major step when the Federal Reserve was passed into law. Now we're about to make another step of that magnitude, and everything will change, I believe. And, well, how would it change? Won't the Federal Reserve continue as it is? And in my view, the answer is no. We don't have to worry so much anymore about abolishing the Fed, because the Fed is about to metamorph into something quite different, and it won't be there anyway in the form that, as we know it. And it's hard to imagine, but it'll even be worse. And that's the thing. What will it be? Well, they're transitioning now as hard as they can to a new monetary system where people like us, or ordinary people around the world, we won't have money in our pockets. There'll only be a digital currency, and there'll be a central bank digital currency. It's not like Bitcoin or some private coin. These would be nationally issued and internationally sanctioned currencies. And they're digital currencies, not an awful lot different from credit card money, which is digital also. But in this case, once they achieve their goal, there will be no more credit cards, so to speak. All the private systems of money will be replaced by this one monopolistic, one world, literally, a monetary system, and it'll be totally controlled by the banks, not by the governments. And every transaction you make, all the way from buying a packet of gum, to buying a car, to making an endowment to somebody, anything of any size, will have to go through the currency of the digital currency owned by the central banks. Now, I'll come to the end of that one. What's so different about that? Well, the difference is that you have no other place to go, and you'll never have control of your own money without permission of the banks, because it has to clear through their computers. And if they don't like you for any reason, and I can think of a few that they might not like me, they could just throw a switch, and I won't be able to have any money for anything, which puts me out on the street with my hat on the sidewalk begging for food and donations to my overhead.
I'm happy you brought up central bank digital currencies. It is the future. And to that point, where do you hide? How do you protect yourself? How do you protect your privacy? Does that not build a bigger case for assets like the cryptocurrencies, gold, silver?
Well, I think it builds a very good case for all of these alternative assets. Yes, anything other than currency, because we're not going to have our currency anymore. If we have anything we now have in US dollars or any other national currency, in the very near future will disappear. It'll be transformed into central bank or digital currencies. So those will all disappear. Now we'll have the private blockchains, perhaps, where we can still trade with each other at a local level, a limited level. But if we want to pay the rent or buy a cup of coffee or buy a gallon of gas or anything like that, no, we're out of luck. Back to your question, do we need assets outside of that system? Absolutely. What are the best assets? Well, that's another issue, and I have my own views on that. I'm really not a good investment manager. I understand the mechanisms, but people have different opinions. But I don't see how you can beat the bullion market, silver and gold. It's pretty time tested. So when in doubt, go with what's been tested, I would say.
Right, so owning physical gold, physical silver, and be outside the banking system?
Absolutely, that's it. That's the short answer, isn't it? Right there. Own something physical, anything physical, actually, as long as it's marketable.
Are you optimistic with movements such as what we've seen with Bitcoin, the popularity of Bitcoin, of the new generation who wants a decentralized system? Are you optimistic that that day would come where we wouldn't need a central bank, where people would understand this?
Well, I am cautiously optimistic, and I put that word there because I understand that to a large extent, many of the people who are so enthusiastic and rightfully enthusiastic about cryptocurrencies are motivated by the idea of a decentralized system and lack of control by both governments and banks. But I also recognize that the larger is that, hey, I want to get in on the profits. Most people, and this is true, most people who are actually buying cryptocurrencies today are not buying them because they're expecting to use them as a currency of exchange, but because they want to make a profit. They say, I don't want to miss out on this. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but I'm saying that the focus really, if they didn't think that there was a chance to make some big money, I don't think most people would be in the cryptocurrency market right now. And that's just it's a natural fact. In fact, myself, I say that myself. I have bought some crypto because I don't want to miss out either. I'm not betting the family farm on it, but I think, gee, this thing is going up, so it'd be stupid not to participate in the elevator ride. But now you don't have to do a lot of reading and thinking about the future of what it's going to look like, because it's here. It's here. The things that I was worried about back in the 1960s and 70s, most of them are already here. They're visible. Maybe they haven't gone to full term yet, but people are being thrown out of work. I mean, now more and more people never dreamed they would be totally dependent on the government for livelihood. I mean, those numbers are rising, and the amount of money that's being created out of nothing in order to get people on the welfare so they'd be totally subservient to their masters and all of that, and then the crash of the economy, the depression in productivity, the shortages of food and supplies, all of these things now are here. We don't have to say it's going to be that way if we don't do something. They're here. So now it's easier to wake up. You don't have to have much imagination. Just look out your window.
So these are changes that the Fed says we will see. And if you listen real carefully, there were answers to very key questions. So These are coming in, and they're coming in with the fourth industrial revolution. So what is the fourth industrial revolution? Well, as you can see here, the list of the revolutions that we have seen in the past, the first industrial revolution was a shift from relying on animals and human effort to mechanical power and fossil fuels. The second industrial revolution came with electricity, with the invent of electricity, new forms of power generation, and mass production. Third industrial revolution, which actually began somewhere around 1950 with the entry of digital systems or electronic systems. There's automated production that came with that, and then advances in communication and computer power. And now the fourth industrial revolution. We're at the beginning. This is a new era that builds and extends the impact of digitization in new and unanticipated ways. This revolution represents entirely new ways in which technology becomes embedded within our societies and even within the human body. Examples include the genome editing, new forms of machine intelligence, breakthrough materials, and approaches to governance that rely on cryptographic methods, such as the blockchain, and the use of automated, or I should say, artificial intelligence and other technologies to automate the service industries. Wow. New industrial revolution. Breakthrough. So when will it arrive? Well, as you heard Mr. Griffin, the future is now. It's already here. There were 800 specialists and experts in informational technology and communications technology that were interviewed in 2015. They were given well, not interviewed, they were surveyed in 2015. And this information yielded the answers that you see here. This is a list of the things that they say will occur by 2025. Just look at this. Can you imagine 10% of the people wearing clothes connected to the internet? Well, how about 5% of consumer products being printed in 3D, these 3D printers that we already have? And then look at over 50% of the internet traffic into homes and appliances and devices. All of that traffic that's coming into your homes will be for your appliances and your devices. Okay, so we're looking at quite a few changes in quite a few industries. So we'll talk about each one. So the first one is more automated or our automated intelligence or artificial intelligence in our economy. Increase automation in our economy. You see it already right now when you walk into the Walmart or a grocery store chain. There are more self-checkouts with card-only purchase machines. There are less checkouts being manned by humans. Isn't that what we see now? For example, McDonald's, like in other restaurants across the country, look to automation to reduce labor costs. There are 10 McDonald's that back in June, it was announced that 10 McDonald's in the Chicago area were using automated drive-through ordering, which means that you could go up to a drive-through and not knowing that you're not speaking to an adult or an individual, but that you're talking to software. The automation has moved into these other industries as well, not just food industry. But what we saw, or what McDonald's saw, at least their CEO saw, is that after using these voice ordering technologies, 85% of the orders were accurate. There are other restaurants too that are using computers. This is White Castle, and you see the robot that's cooking the French fries, and these other two in the middle, and then on the right, this is a restaurant that's in Delaware. On the right, the robot comes and shows you the menu and takes your order. In the middle, that same restaurant, the orders are delivered to your table by a robot. So again, it's not just found in the food industry. From A to I, industries are being transformed by innovation. Autonomous vehicles have the potential to save time, limit energy consumption, and dramatically reduce more than 1.2 million deaths that are attributed to road traffic each year. AI is taking bioscience to the next level by empowering researchers to conduct experiments more efficiently. And haven't you seen with creative services, artificial intelligence algorithms at work? They help brands to learn a little bit more about what is actually relevant to their customers, allowing the brands like Microsoft and Disney to run more effective mobile video advertising campaigns. You've seen this. You have searched on your phone for maybe shoes. You're looking for a pair of shoes. And you did one search, and then you go away, you come back hours or days later, and all of a sudden you see all these different advertisements for shoes, or for things that will complement shoes. That's AI, that's algorithms at work. But AI can uncover data insights that allow companies to manage their resources more efficiently and better to serve their customers. AI also is being used across the educational landscape to develop new tactics for helping people to learn better. Financial institutions use the AI for better recommendations to their customers as well. In the gaming world, artificial intelligence is what artificial intelligence is transforming what was recreational hobby into a valuable tool for employers, for scientists, and for high-level government figures. AI is revolutionary and revolutionizing healthcare by empowering doctors and hospitals to deliver better care to more patients and with greater speed. There are apps that will answer patients' questions about their symptoms 24/7 and give them some free instant medical advice on what to do next. And then there's the Internet of Things. And this is a network of internet-connected sensors that communicate with one another, allowing us to understand and to optimize the physical world. This produces an incredible amount of data that makes our world, quote, a better place, like these smart cities that you're going to see, or traffic analysis. I'll show you an example of one of Internet of Things. This is information about Bill Gates. In 2018, Bill Gates, he funded, or I should say he backed a project. And this project was to blanket the Earth in video surveillance satellites. 2018. And if you look and you see the connections, the satellites will be connected to all kinds of things that are right down here in Earth, including the appliances in your kitchen, your car, the traffic cams, you have grocery store carts, you have airplanes, you have all kinds of connections and sensors that are being connected to those satellites. And guess who will be purchasing this type of this type of power, because that's pretty much what it is. It will be governments and large businesses. So this company, Earth Now, will launch, that's the company he backed, 500 satellites to live stream monitor almost every corner of the Earth, providing instantaneous feedback with only a 1-second delay. And Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation also has holdings in Crown Castle. Now, Crown Castle owns 5G infrastructure in every major US market. It operates and leases more than 40,000 cell towers, 65,000 cell nodes, which is the central infrastructure for 5G, and over 75,000 miles of fiber in every major market. So instead of going into your home providing you with safe, fast, wired internet, it's been confiscated to connect 5G towers. 5G, to me, has almost nothing to do with improving our lives. It's about controlling our lives and controlling our market products, or how we want to, or how they market products to us, and harvesting your data for artificial intelligence. So don't commit a crime and then walk down the street or go into your kitchen refrigerator, because there'll be facial recognition thanks to the satellites. So the next thing, or the second change that we're looking at, is the move to blockchain technology. So what is blockchain technology? Well, blockchain technology is shared immutable ledger for recording transactions, tracking assets, and building trust. How does it work? That as each transaction occurs, it is recorded as a block of data. And then each block is connected to the ones before it and after it. And transactions are blocked together in an irreversible chain, hence the blockchain. Smart contracts are added to the blockchain in order to speed up. And actually what the smart contract is, it's a set of rules that is stored on the blockchain to execute automatically a set of rules. A smart contract can define conditions for corporate bond transfers, include several forms or several terms in travel insurance to be paid, and a whole lot of other things. Okay, like for instance, if you're going to sell your house, and everything that would take place with a realtor or title company, all that you would normally have to go out and face-to-face pretty much get it done, or voice-to-voice get it done. Well, a smart contract will set all those rules, every step in place, you put it on the blockchain, and it happens, and nothing moves until each thing occurs. So until the house is appraised, or until repairs are made, or until the deed is in hand, money doesn't change hands. Okay, that's what the smart contract will do. This blockchain is called a distributed ledger technology. It's part of distributed ledger technology. All network participants have access to the distributed ledger, and it is immutable. It's a set of immutable record of transactions. With this shared ledger, transactions are recorded only once, eliminating that duplication of effort that happens in traditional business networks. And immutable records means no participant can change or tamper with a transaction after it has been recorded to the shared ledger. If a record includes an error, a new transaction must be added to reverse the error, and both transactions are visible. So blockchain is immutable, which means cannot be changed, unable to change. Assets can be tangible or intangible. Tangible things like a house, car, cash, or intangible like intellectual properties, patent, copyrights, and branding. Anything of value can be tracked. Value to this use of the blockchain is it cuts costs for almost everyone involved, and it eliminates tampering and the influx of malicious actors, those people we call bad actors, or you call them hackers or cyber criminals. It eliminates that. And then for business importance, it provides immediate, shared, and completely transparent information like your orders, your payments, your accounts. Everyone who is a part of this immediately will be able to immediately see it on an immutable ledger that can be accessed by them when given permission by the network members. And then the benefits to the blockchain: greater trust. With the blockchain as a member of a member-only network, you can rest assured that you're receiving accurate and timely data, and that your confidential blockchain records will be shared only with network members to whom you have specifically granted access. And then there's greater security. Consensus on the data accuracy is required from all network members. So everyone has to agree that whatever is there is right. And all validated transactions are immutable because they are recorded permanently. No one, not even a system administrator, can delete a transaction. And then there's more efficiency in this process. Why? Because no time is wasted and smart contracts help to move things along faster. So then third, what you will see in the economy are more regulations from government and from the Fed. As you heard, a central bank is an independent authority, national authority that conducts monetary policies, regulates banks, and provides financial services. Its goals are to stabilize the nation's currency, keep unemployment low, and prevent inflation. It's not a government agency, it's a private institution. We heard that in the video. Every nation or region around the globe has a central bank. But unlike commercial and investment banks, these institutions aren't market-based and they're not competitive. The government, I think G.F. Griffin, he said, the government doesn't control the banks control the government. So here's an example of current push for regulation. And did you know, or did you hear it recently this week? It was October 13th when this was reported, but we heard a report on it again this week. The Biden's administration proposed IRS surveillance of bank customers who are depositing $600 or more. The banks, now this means that if you put money into your bank account and that money is not connected to your check from your job, your Social Security check, your what do you call that, your unemployment check, entities where, or I should say avenues where the IRS is already connected, you just put $600 or $1,000 or whatever in your account. The bank has to tell the IRS, Biden administration wants the bank to let the IRS know that you just put money into your bank account that was not connected to any check or job or social service, nothing that the IRS already knows and has taken as cut pretty much. Well, the banks and the Republican Party lawmakers were outraged, and so they did some pushback on this. And Biden and the Democrats decided to raise that deposit amount to $10,000. And right now, today, it's kind of questionable as to whether that is going to happen or where it would lead. Okay, so, but the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, said the proposed $600 IRS reporting requirement for banks was a way to hold billionaires accountable because, in her quote, she said, there's a lot of tax fraud and cheating going on. Remember, banks nor government can control cryptocurrency because they cannot break through that blockchain ledger. This is another way, this regulation is another way we will lose privacy. This is another way to backdoor control your money and your economic level. Here is a change that the Fed did or brought into place in 2020 when we weren't even looking. So do you remember that the list of the Fed functions, one of them is the consumer protection. And take a note there, consumer protection. Now to me, consumer protection means protecting your money and your financial livelihood. Well, one policy that the Fed or the Federal Reserve has or put into place many years ago, back I believe in the 1900s, is called fractional reserve banking. In case you didn't know, fractional reserve banking says that when you put money into the bank, the Fed tells the bank that you have to keep 10% of that person's money in the bank on reserve. You can go ahead and loan out the other 90%, loan it out or invest it or whatever, but you have to keep 10% in there. And that's something most people don't even know. You never see it on your account. Your account shows you have all that money there, but they have to loan money and they make money off of loaning money. So what do? They loan out your money. Well, On March 15, 2020, the Federal Reserve announced that they were lowering the 10% fraction effective March 26, 2020. You probably did not hear much about it. And you know why? Because in March of 2020, what was everybody concentrated on? What were we all focused on? Yep, COVID-19. That's what we were focused on. They reduced it from 10% to 0. So what does that say? And this is the Federal Reserve monetary policy webpage. And you can see right here, the board reduced the reserve requirement ratios to 0% effective March 26, 2020. The FDIC, so let me just say this. What does that matter to you, you may say? Well, I said, if you put in $1,000 and the bank can take 900 of that and go and loan it out to someone to make money, you have your 100 in. What if you and everybody else who is a part of that bank or has an account in that bank decide we want our money? So you go in and you close your account to get all your money. That's called a run on the bank. Banks cannot pay all of that back and they are likely to fold. And you may say, well, what about the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation? Yes, a government entity that was created to ensure that your money in the bank to insure your money that was in the bank up to $250,000 will be guaranteed in case the banks can't meet their obligation. Well, on March 24th, 2020, 2 days just before the reserve requirement came into effect, the FDIC made an unusual public service announcement that encouraged people to leave their money in the bank. And literally the chair said, do not put it in the mattress because that didn't work well for others who did that. This was unusual, and industry experts that saw this said that signaled to them that the FDIC probably would not be able to insure that money if there were runs on the bank. So these are regulations that are going to come into play or are in play, or these are regulations we have to look out for. Many more because of what the changes, the fourth industrial revolution. So what you also will see, the fourth thing is elevated inflation. Loss of jobs and decreased supply of goods leads to inflation. And we have a serious issue now. This is the supply chain, and this supply chain, this is a picture of what's going on with the supply chain. It's already in trouble. And take a look. This Wall Street Journal article was published October 17, 2021. Look just under the headline. Economists see supply constraints, labor shortages as bigger risks to the economy than COVID-19. That says a lot. According to economists, the economists that were surveyed here this month, the Wall Street Journal, with this Wall Street Journal survey, they said uncomfortably high inflation will grip the US economy well into 2022. Why? They say this is due to supply chain issues that keep upward pressure on prices. They expect inflation to reach 5.25% by this December. Industry experts don't expect the supply chain issues to recede until the second quarter of 2022. So let me move forward. Labor shortages are also a big thing, and we're hearing about it more and more in the media. And this LinkedIn article posted last week says that the labor shortages are global. Employers right now are increasing their base rate. I think it was Starbucks that announced this week that they're raising their base pay to $15 for everybody, and they're adding all kinds of other incentives. They're offering workplace choices not Starbucks, but other employers, are offering all this to people. Why? As they struggle to recruit workers. How will all of this affect us? Well, many types of jobs will disappear, but new jobs will be created that will require more technology skills. However, there is evidence that new industries are creating relatively fewer positions than in the past. The jobs that my grandchildren will work, they probably haven't even been created. A cryptocurrency is a type of currency which uses digital files as money. Usually the files are created using the same ways as cryptography, which is the science of hiding information. Digital signatures can be used to keep the transaction safe and let other people check that transactions are real. CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies. This is not a current cryptocurrency. It's not on the blockchain. It's controlled by the banks, and USDC, United States digital currency, is the CBDC for the United States. That's what your money will be converted to. All fiat currency, which is paper money, that's backed by nothing, will be converted to USDC in this country. Banks have already begun the process of switching to digital money. The digital money is programmable money. They can see where and when you spend it. So, and more government and big business data collecting, as you saw with Bill Gates, means a greater loss of your privacy. And then, of course, I just mentioned there the supply chain, the bottlenecks, plus the job loss and empty shelves and high prices equals inflation. So what can we do to prepare? Well, as a child of God, I share this information with you not to frighten you, because we have nothing to fear. But I do encourage you to pray, as in 1 Thessalonians 5, and to seek knowledge and wisdom of God, just like Solomon did in 2 Chronicles, and like we're told to do in 1 James. We will have nothing to fear. Choose the wisdom and understanding over silver and gold, as Proverbs 16:16 encourages us. And then learn how to be good stewards, become good stewards, get an understanding, and learn how to become good stewards of God's grace. That's what we're encouraged in the story in Luke 16. Okay, and then to get that understanding in Proverbs and 1 Peter. Then we need to take control of our personal finances. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but I can tell you what I am doing, what I have done, and what my family, I encourage, and my family does do. And then those students that take financial literacy classes for me, these are the things that I teach them. Educate yourself about money, about your income, your expenses, your spending habits, your basic investing. Learn the basics of investing and how to cut costs and pay for goods and services. I assigned this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki, to my basic entrepreneurial students to become knowledgeable in financial literacy. It's a great book, especially to learn the basics of what to do and how, or what to do with your money, and the basics of just understanding what investment is all about. And then we should teach and encourage our young people to do the same thing and to acquire necessary skills to function in a global economy. Skills like critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and technical skills. These are skills that I emphasize in all my educational platforms. We can also, next, we can get ahead of them. Well, first, we can stabilize ourselves and our family for rising prices. Okay, so you want to stock up on some, this is all defensive, but these are things you do want to do. Stock up on non-perishable food or grow your own food. Basic staples can include flours, grains, spices, sugar, coffee, tea, macaroni, beans, canned goods that are in water, and things that you can store in your pantry or in your cupboards. Medicine, if you take it, then ask your doctor to give you an extended prescription, like 3 months supply or whatever it is that you take, if you take it all the time. And then water, of course, bottles of water, or a filter, and a filter so you can filter out your own water for a while. And then we need to get ahead of the massive changes, be an early investor in innovation. My family purchased crypto coins. Okay, this is what I have them to do. These are my things here. We buy certain cryptocurrencies. We buy them to trade so we can generate an early profit. And then we buy certain coins to hodl or hold on for dear life to create some generational wealth. And then I tell them always, the mantra that I hear is don't trip by the dip. When it goes low, this is what you do. So we do buy some trading coins like Dogecoin and SHIB. Why do I call these trading coins? Because they have limited utility. These two coins are pretty much adoption tokens, Doge and SHIB, which just means that they're here to bring the masses over. Doge and SHIB. They're mainly to bring the masses over to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. My family, with the SHIB, I had them, purchase $100 worth, and this was back in May. And so many of them have like 5, and so what they did is they have 5 to 6 million of these SHIB. And even if this SHIB, and it's moving up because we've already been at like 5 zeros and then numbers, and it has dropped 0, and it's getting closer to continue to drop in 0, and it's expected to go to a penny. If it even goes to a penny, every 1 million SHIB that they have equals $10,000. So that is just earning profit. Now, an early profit. So we take those trading coins and we do that, and I don't make a big deal about it because it's trading. So when the price goes low, you buy it. When it gets higher, you sell it. But then there are coins that we buy, and I call them utility coins. There's no limited utility. They have some serious good utility. But I say you do your homework for this. It's good to put coinmarketcap.com on your computer. You don't have to sign in and be a login, a member, or anything. You can just use it. This information is here. And you'll go to this website, coinmarket.com, coinmarketcap.com, and click on filters. And once you click on the filters, look at the industries that you're interested in. And look at the categories that you're interested in. And so because of like the supply chain, VeChain is one of the ones that my family has purchased, or who I encourage my family to purchase, one of the chains. And why? Because I just showed you all of the issues that are going on with the supply chain. And when you go and you dig into information about VeChain, what do you find? That it's a blockchain-powered supply chain platform. Okay, its coins or its tokens are VET and VITO. This is like its gas, and this is the main coin. And it's only right now priced in near about 14 cents, but we've purchased, a lot of this. So when this technology does come into play, which as you see, it's going to be pretty quick when it comes into play because it's needed. Because it is needed. So I go and I find all the information about, supply chain is an issue. Let me go and see what are the supply chains. So I will look it up. Supply chain cryptos. Well, who are they? And then I start looking at not just that information. Okay, they are, but look at some founders and see what background their founders have. This one was a former CIO with Louis Vuitton, and this other co-founder, he worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers in finance and risk management. So these guys know they got some good background, and you can even go down the rabbit hole here, right here on CoinMarketCap, because they have what's called a deep dive into companies that have good utility. So that means this technology is going to be around for a while. So look for the utility in a coin base based on your interests and what your future use of it could be, or the future use of it could be, and then check out the trading tokens for making money now. And then I am at the end. I really appreciate you. There are several references here, but not only that, I have here listed for you my website, because there are free resources that I always give on my website, and it's pretty much financial literacy information. And I don't just, teach it based on me and my experiences. I actually use I have been trained at some of the webinars for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and I use a lot of their materials. And you will go online and to that website and to that page, and you'll see my logo and their logo together on some of the books. Those books are there, they're digital, but if you want them in a hard copy, just let me know. I have them. I get like packs, 150s and 100s at a time, because I share this information. I pass this out, and I use it when I'm preparing any of my courses, or just teaching individuals about financial literacy. So feel free to go, and you'll also see a link to this presentation on there. It'll be a little bit different. It won't be this exact presentation, but it will be one that I have used just to share the information with the public. You won't necessarily be able to copy it, but it'll be there for you. Okay, thank you so much, and goodbye for now.